Hello and welcome. This is the Well-Paid Geek from wellpaidgeek.com. Today we will be learning about the three ES6 function argument features, rest, spread and default, in under 10 minutes. These three features give us an easy way to consume and use function arguments. We'll look at default first. Default allows us to specify default values for function arguments. These defaults will be used if the arguments are admitted when the function is called. Let's see this in practice with a code example. Here we have a very simple function greet. It takes two string arguments, name and greeting, and then it outputs greeting space name. Down here we call the function 3 times and output the result to the console. Let's just run this. Okay, these first two are as expected. Hello Dave, bonjour Alex. In the third case, where we provide no second argument to greet, the greeting parameter here will be undefined, so we get undefined Alex. We're now going to solve this by using a default value for the greeting argument. It's very simple to do. We just do greeting equals, and then whatever we want our default value to be, I'm going to say hello. Now when we clear this and rerun, the first two results are identical. The default value for the argument greeting won't be used in this case because we have specified values in the first two function calls. However, in the third function call, we haven't specified an argument for value for greeting, so we get this default which is hello, so we get hello Alex. In this case, obviously I've used a string because greeting is meant to be a string, but if it was a number that would be fine, you can just do that, or even an object. Just any value can be used as a default. Secondly, we're going to look at rest. Rest allows us to write functions which have a variable number of arguments. It's a nice replacement for using the arguments object to do this, which was always a little clumsy in my opinion. Let's look at some code. Here we have a very simple function, add amounts. It takes a string, currency, and two numbers. It adds the numbers together and then returns the result prefixed with the currency. Here I use it a couple of times. Let's run it and see what the output is. So the first time we get £3 as expected. The second time these last two parameters are ignored. The function only takes 3 parameters, and so only the first 3 are used, of course. So again, we get £3. Now let's say we wanted to modify this to, instead of just taking 2 numbers, to take a variable number of numbers. Now you could just modify it by removing the A and B parameter and putting an array in its place. However, that would mean we have to rewrite anywhere else we've called this function, like we'd have to refactor this call here to take an array. We can get around this by just using the rest syntax. Now the rest syntax is triple dot followed by the variable name of your choice. I'm going to call it numbers in this case. Now what this will do is the first argument to the function will be in the currency variable. All subsequent arguments to the function will be in an array called numbers. So now C is the sum of all the numbers. That's wrong. Yep, that should be correct. So now if we clear this and rerun, we should get £3 like we did before, but now for this we will be using all the numbers, and so we should get £33. Just one final thing that it is worth noting is that the rest operator can only be used on the last parameter in the function list. Finally, we're going to look at spread. Spread makes it easy for us to call a function with an array of arguments such that each element in the array becomes an argument passed to the function. You can think of this a bit like exploding an array into individual function arguments. In the past, this has been achieved using function.prototype.apply, but using spread is much more graceful, as I'm sure you'll agree. Let's look at some code. Right, here we have a very simple function, createPerson. It takes 3 parameters, name, date of birth, gender, and it just outputs an object containing these 3. So we'll run that, and as expected, we get the object containing the parameters we passed to the function when we called it down here. Okay, so let's say we have our name, date of birth, and gender for whatever reason in an array. I mean, we could just pass the individual parts of the array, like array 0, say, array 1, and array 2 here, but that's a bit tedious. One is if we just want to be able to keep the function exactly the same, but pass in an array. We can achieve this using the spread operator. To do that, first let's put our arguments into an array, call it args, use exactly the same arguments. Okay, now the spread operator is something that's going to be very familiar to you because it's exactly the same as the rest operator we looked at in the previous section. It's just triple dot, then the variable name. And that will get you David as name, this as the date of birth, then male as the gender. It just takes each element in the array and makes it another argument to the function. The differentiator between whether, in this case, this triple dot is a spread operator and whether it's a rest operator is purely contextual. When you're calling a function and using it on the arguments, it's a spread operator. If you had it up here within the parameters when defining the function, then it would be rest. So let's just clear this and run the code, and we should get exactly the same result back as we did previously. Yep, that works. All very simple. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. If you didn't like it, I encourage constructive feedback in the comments.